Chapter 3. The Man in the Mirror. Reyansh's Pove. I have built everything from scratch. The office, the company, the reputation. Malhotra Core Industries, a name that took years of calculated decisions, sleepless nights, and a particular kind of loneliness that I stopped noticing somewhere around year 3. I built all of it. And yet I sit here at this desk on a Tuesday afternoon, and I am still the man who killed his mother. That is what they say. That is what they whispered at the party last night, loud enough for me to hear. That is what I have been, in the eyes of this city, for longer than I care to count. The CEO. The cold one. The one who doesn't feel anything. Maybe they're right. Maybe I stopped feeling things so gradually that I didn't notice when it happened. Or maybe I felt too much once and decided the price was too high. So I did what made sense. I made a business decision. The company needed stability. A CEO, unmarried at 27, raises questions in certain boardrooms. My father's world, all handshakes and appearances and old money observing everything, had been watching me. And so I found a solution, the way I find all solutions. A contract. She needed money. Her mother was ill, seriously, expensively ill, and she had exhausted every other option. I needed a wife for appearances. 2 years, clean terms, no interference. I told myself this was simple. Her name is Anya Sharma. She worked in my company. She is 23 years old, and she has been living in my apartment for 5 days now, and I have spoken to her perhaps 20 words in total. She does not ask for anything. That is what I notice. She moves through the apartment like she is trying to take up as little space as possible, as if she has already calculated the exact dimensions of what she is allowed and has decided to stay well within them. I should find this convenient. I asked for no interference. This is no interference. And yet, something about it bothers me. I have not examined why. I was in the kitchen when the call came. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer. बेटा रेयांश, मैं आन्या की मम्मी बोल रही हूँ. Her mother. I had not considered that she might call me directly. Beta, Anya hasn't come home yet. Is she with you? She wasn't with me. She had left hours ago for the hospital. For reports, she had said. Something practical and uneventful. I found her in the hospital corridor, sitting in one of those long waiting chairs, completely collapsed inward, her good clothes crumpled, her hands in her lap. What are you doing? I said, and my voice came out harder than I intended. And then the doctor came. I have watched people receive bad news before. I have watched it delivered with that particular professional composure, the measured cadence, the careful eyes. I have been on the receiving end of it myself. But watching her, watching this girl who had married a stranger to pay for her mother's treatment, receive the words, "I'm sorry, anything could happen now." Something in the room felt different. "Whatever amount you need," she said, through tears that she clearly hadn't planned on crying in public. "I'll give it. Please, just save her, please." The doctor looked at me. "Take care of her," he said, and walked away. She cried the entire drive home. I told her to stop. She didn't. I told her again, louder, and she still didn't. And somewhere in the frustration of that moment, I understood that there are things that simply cannot be commanded, no matter how precisely you phrase them. That night I watched her sit on the edge of the bed in her crumpled clothes, staring at nothing. I went to the kitchen. I poured water into a glass. I carried it back to the bedroom, held it out and said, "Drink," when she didn't notice. She looked at me. just looked. Then she drank. I turned off the lights and went to the sofa, and I sat there in the dark for a very long time, telling myself this was nothing. This was a contract. This was a transaction. She had needed money, and I had a company to protect, and everything between us was clean and documented on page 12. I almost believed it.
Chapter 4. What I Didn't Plan For. Anya's Pove. The morning after the hospital, he told me we were going to my mother's house. Not in so many words. He doesn't do things in many words. He said it the way he says most things, as a statement of fact, delivered to the air in front of him rather than to me specifically. I had worn the silver sari, the one with the iridescent fabric that catches the light and shimmers between silver and something else entirely. I wore it because my mother had given it to me for a special occasion, and taking her something, even just the sight of her daughter dressed beautifully, felt like the only thing I could offer. He drove in silence, which I had come to understand was simply his default setting. I looked out the window and let the city pass. My mother was waiting at the gate when we arrived. My mother has a very specific way of smiling when she is overwhelmingly happy. Her whole face changes, the tiredness goes, and something younger and brighter comes through. She did that smile when she saw me. And then she looked at Reyansh. She took his hands. She looked at him the way she has always looked at people she has immediately decided to trust. That warm, absolute, completely unguarded acceptance, as if she had already decided he was family. He gave her the smallest smile. My friends Cushy and Payal arrived, and the house filled with noise and warmth, and for a few hours, everything felt almost ordinary. A week later, Mahir came home from Canada. I had heard the name exactly once, from Dadi at dinner, delivered with a particular brightness of someone announcing good news, and I had watched Reyansh's hand stop with his glass halfway to his lips. Now I understood why. Mahir is difficult to describe if you are accustomed to Reyansh. He fills a room differently. Where Reyansh makes a room feel slightly smaller, Mahir makes it feel warmer. He laughs before sentences are finished. He moves like someone who has never been told to take up less space. He looked at me. Not the way strangers look at you, assessing, categorizing, moving on. He looked at me the way someone looks at a person they already know and have been waiting to see again. I couldn't place it. I filed it away. What I remember more clearly is later that evening. Reyansh and I, alone in the apartment, sitting on the sofa, the silence between us, the particular kind that had become familiar. "There's a flight to South Korea on Saturday," he said. "Tell your mother." I looked at him, at this man who had arranged my mother's surgery from behind a desk and had not mentioned it until this moment, as if it were a calendar item, rather than the thing that had kept me awake for weeks. "I don't know how to thank you," I told him. He said nothing, looked away. And then I said the wrong thing. I mentioned his mother. Gently, I thought, what Dadi had told me, that she had been gone for a very long time. I said it because I thought it explained something, because I wanted him to know I understood, at least a little, what it cost him to help me. He stood up so fast, the air in the room changed. "Go to the bedroom," he said. "Sleep." I went. I sat on the bed in the dark, listening to the silence of the apartment around me, trying to understand what I had done wrong and whether I would ever stop doing it.